What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Straight Facts YouTube channel presented by the Up On Game Network and iHeartMedia. It's always the sports show that educates and entertains, but we're getting active on the YouTube channel a little bit more because we got a lot of stuff that we start talking about and we want to flesh out outside of our episodes. And we got another good one. Before we get into it, my guys are here, Jake Galley and Kyle Sirik, and we got a fun segment today, y'all, because we talk about some of the worst contracts, not just in the NBA or the NFL, in sports, right? And so we got a nice segment we like to call salary cap, because we gotta let y'all know who's really doing their team a detriment and a service by having the contracts they have. And we're gonna start it out hot. One of our Jake and I, at least, one of our favorite players to kind of rip on and to get on, because there's so many facets of Russell Westbrook that are not great. And the latest one is that contract, man. The latest one is that contract. Long hauled as probably the worst contract in the league. And the fact that the Thunder and the Rockets were able to flip it is pretty impressive. But now it's the Lakers' problem, right? Now the Lakers have not only are sputtering in the start of their season, 8-9 to start their season, but it looks like Russell Westbrook isn't meshing. And what glares when he doesn't mesh is the fact that he's getting paid like 40-something M's this season. So, Jake, man, I'm going to let you take this one first because NMPG is the slogan. And I know you love to get Russ out here any chance that you get.
Yeah, it really has been. And honestly, in the past couple of years, it's been Rudy Gobert really vying for that spot of like the most dunked on player by us. Him and Russ have really been going head to head for that. But Russ, like, it was a questionable decision when they made the trade, like when they decided to do it. People were like, and then so I don't feel like this is any sort of overreaction by saying like they definitively don't fit. Now him and LeBron's been I think he's had like a back injury for a couple game series, missed a decent amount of time. So they'll probably begin to gel as the season goes on. I'm willing to say that, but like from Jump Street, you have Russell Westbrook with a .023 win shares per 48, despite having like a 29% usage percentage, which is a lot for a normal player.
Mm-hmm.
But for Russell Westbrook, it is his lowest mark since 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they make him fit. I just don't know how he fits.
I think
shooting.
The value he brings is you bring in a third superstar. That's kind of what the Lakers needed. That's the next step. I know they won the championship 2 years ago. It's a Mickey Mouse ring in my eyes. We don't got to get into that. They needed a third superstar. It is probably the worst contract in the league. $93 million over the next 2 years is ridiculous amount of money to pay any player.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have Russell Westbrook, who has historically been a great stat guy and hasn't been a great teammate. I think, like Jake said, they could gel. We could see it. I still think the Lakers improved. But, I mean, it was on display last night.
Terrible.
Last night they lost to the Celtics, and Dennis Schroeder, the guy who was pretty much, the guy that replaced by Russ, went off. He's had 21. He had a plus 12, or he had 21, 6, and 6. Russ had 12, 6, and 4. Their plus minuses were exactly opposite. Schroeder was plus 12, and Russell Westbrook was minus 12. And you got the guy that you're paying $44 million, even more a year, compared to the guy you just let go that only signed for $6 million Schroeder did this year. I mean, so is he grossly overpaid? Yes, but was this needed for the Lakers? I mean, maybe it was a price to pay.
Yeah, the superstar was needed. The name Russell Westbrook kind of changes that variable a little bit. And hey, for all intents and purposes, Dennis Schroeder is for this segment is lucky that he had to accept, a vet minimum or a mid-level exception, because if he got that 100 M's that he was asking for, he might be, the next person we talk about next to Russell Westbrook. But before we move on,
Schroeder's playing well, bro.
He kind of been balling.
Schroeder's playing well.
I don't know if it's 100 M's, but we kind of been balling. But he kind of been balling. Before we move on from Russ, I think when you take a look at that usage rate, right? He's at 30% next to LeBron. AD's in the mid-30s. Jake, we talked about off camera that is his lowest usage rate since his first All-Star year in 2010, right? Russ is a stats guy, but he needs the ball to get those stats. He needs the usage rate to go up. I don't think it's a coincidence that the first time since the year before they went to the finals with the Thunder, Russ is at this lowest of a usage rate. His stats are down. He's not gelling because I'm afraid that Russell Westbrook doesn't have the impact on the floor when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. He doesn't impact the ball off the ball. So when you take that usage rate down from him, you see the stats go down, and now he's not impactful. He's not that third superstar that the Lakers need. 12, 6, and 4. That's not getting it done.
Yeah, it's hideous. I mean, but it's the same old song and dance. And the last thing I'll say is, you look back, they were on the precipice of trading for Buddy Hield, Kuzma for Buddy Hield. You don't have to give up KCP. You don't have to give up Montrezl Harrell. You really just would have swapped Kuzma out for a low usage guy who fits your need exactly. Instead, you trade all three of those guys for a guy who needs, as you said, needs the ball in his hands, isn't efficient, and there isn't really much that he does that LeBron doesn't do better. Like it just doesn't. It seemed like a move just for the sake of making a splash move, and we're seeing that play out.
It happens, man. Shaky. All right, we're gonna move on because we're gonna stay on the theme of aging superstars going to another team to contend and it not really working out. And we're going to the gridiron for that, and that's Julio Jones. And I have no problem ripping on Russell Westbrook, but Julio stings a little bit. I never had a problem with Julio, and I never had a problem with his value. And that stings a little bit. And right now, he's the second highest average value for a wide receiver. He's at $23 million a year, and then DeAndre Hopkins is right above him with $27 million a year. So anytime you are in the same conversation as a top 2-3 wide receiver in the NFL in terms of value, you better have a top 2 or 3 in terms of production. And that's not what we're getting from Julio Jones, who went to a run-heavy offense to begin with. Now, the injury to Derrick Henry might change this a little bit. They might get a little bit more pass-happy. But if that first game is an indication, it's not really. It's, if things are going to operate as normal for the Titans. So, Kyle, I'll go to you for this one. Like, do we see it getting better for Julio, or are the Titans the latest team that's going to have to eat a bad contract?
I don't really think you can call the best team in the AFC like having a bad contract. I mean, maybe it's a little blip, but he is fine. It could really only go up, right? Julio Jones only played 9 games last season, and we have an extra game this season, and he's on pace to have better stats last season than this year, only playing 9 games. He doesn't have a touchdown, which is crazy. He only has 330 yards, not even really catching the ball, 31 catches in 6 games. I mean, it's or 21 catches, 31 targets, right? So he's not even getting the ball right now. AJ Brown has emerged and is back, but I mean, Julio played games without AJ Brown and couldn't get the ball. And I understand they're a run-heavy offense. I'm happy that they're winning games, but it could really only go up. I mean, it's a bad contract, but the fact that it's not affecting them, because this is probably the worst you can expect from Julio Jones, and well, maybe not even his fault, but it could really only go up, and they're winning games. So I'm not mad at the contract. I think he's kind of handcuffing maybe what Tennessee can do going forward. But Tennessee is a win now team right now, right? They are number 1 in the AFC, so bad contract, but the Titans seemingly are fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's funny because if the Lakers were winning, everyone would justify Russell's, Russell's contract, right?
I still think they'll do too. I think Russell's contract will be verified by the end of the year.
So I see what you're saying. I kind of agree with you. Like, winning cures all, right? Like, yeah, I'm not crazy happy about the contract, but we're number 1 in the AFC. So how much can I really complain? Stuff is working, right?
Right.
And from a fan's point of view, like, yes, but you know who probably doesn't like the contract? The general manager and the owner is the front office of the Tennessee Titans, because it's like, man, we didn't have to pay $23 million for this. If I knew this is what we were going to get, we wouldn't pay the man $23 million. And you make a great point. You handcuff what you can do going forward and the moves you can make, because we're tied down to Julio. So it's sure. A little bit of a double-edged sword there. Like, they got to continue to be the best team in the AFC, because the more they slide, the more that contract starts to glare.
Yeah, and it seems like it was like a really reactionary thing to go and get Julio. Like, oh, Julio's available. Oh, well, we got to get him.
Go get him. Right.
Yeah. Because earlier in the offseason, they had signed Josh Reynolds from the Rams. And that's like, you already have AJ Brown. He's your number 1. You have a run-heavy team, so I don't really know how much you need, like, more receivers. And then you look at the defensive line. They are dead last in defensive line positional spending by, like, a wide margin. So, I don't know. If I was a fan of Tennessee, I probably would rather have seen them go after someone on the defensive line. I can't really remember many free agents. Was Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, or was he traded?
J.J. Watt
was traded.
J.J. Watt was traded.
I mean,
I think Jadeveon Clowney was probably the big free agent signing they could have gotten. Javon Hargrave.
Javon Hargrave's another one. So, like, these are guys who, if I'm a Titans fan, if I'm as you said, James, if I'm the general manager, those are guys who I'm like, wow, I really wish we had them instead of Julio. We'd be a much tougher team.
The thing is that you bring in Julio to be a number 2 receiver, right? You knew AJ Brown was their number 1. Julio has the second most yards, the second most targets. The third most receptions, Jerry McNichols sneaks in there with like 4 more receptions than Julio.
How we keep talking about Jeremy McNichols? That's the third time Jeremy McNichols.
Sneaks his way into every
made a segment. Shout out that man.
He is essentially the number 2 receiver though, and they're winning football games. So I mean, overpaid, yes. Can it bite him in the ass, like Jake said, on the defensive line when it comes, go time, playoff time? Because they're going to make the playoffs. Yes, 100%. But as of right now, I don't think you can complain.
Yeah, Julio Jones is that new bike that the parents all bought their kids for Christmas that was $250, $300, and then you're going to Target and you walk by it for $100, and you're like, I'm not mad because he got the bike, but we really could have gotten that thing for much cheaper. I'm mad that I saw it for that value. All right, we're gonna move on. The last bad contract that we got is really, to me, the person who left and made the Titans fill this void of a number 2 explosive receiver, even though he's a tight end. And that's Jonnu Smith, who now is signed to the New England Patriots. And it's really bad. I mean, they're just starting to get some tight end production, and it's not even from Jonnu Smith. It's from Hunter Henry opposite him. And we know the Patriots and Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels love to use their tight ends, that they made a name out of tight ends. And Jonnu Smith was supposed to be the next big one in New England, and we're not seeing that. So, Jake, I break it down, man. Why is Jonnu such a why is it such a bad value in terms of his contract?
Yeah, well, it turns out that it seems like they're using a lot of single tight end sets out of. We've seen that the Patriots really like to run the ball. Hunter Henry is a guy who can do both in terms of run blocking and also in the red zone, which is where Hunter Henry has 7 touchdowns, which I got to think, I haven't checked, that's somewhere in the top 10, top 5 in the league. Certainly most among tight ends. So I think it's more the fact that Hunter Henry has shined, and it's a little bit less of Jonnu's performance. But if you look at his game logs, it's pretty worrying. Other than the New York Jets game, he had 5 targets. But I mean, the 2 games before that, the 3 games after that, so 5 of his last 6 games, he's only had 2 targets, and they're not handing him the ball either, which I thought Bill Belichick I think even had made mention of the fact that they want to use the fact he's an athlete, and in Tennessee, that is something that they utilized, was handing the ball to Jonnu. That hasn't been the case. I mean, they run every running back under the sun over there. Jonnu can't get his hands on the ball. So it may just be a first come, first serve type thing. It's just that Hunter Henry is outperforming and thus taking away some of the shine when they are both out there.
Yeah.
But Jonnu definitely looking like TE number 2. And if I am revisionist history, I really want to go after a guy who, instead of Jonnu, you spend that $12 million on a guy who maybe is a burner on the outside. You have Nelson Aguilar, but no real deep threat. I don't know if Aguilar counts as a deep threat.
It's tough. $31 million guaranteed.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Him and Hunter Henry essentially got the same contracts, but Jonnu gets the extra year on it and more guaranteed money. That's more guaranteed money than Travis Kelce has. It's similar to what Goddard just got. Dallas Goddard just got extended. I mean, it is crazy. I mean, I guess the Patriots thought they'd be like the old Patriots. They could run 2 tight end sets, but you have a rookie quarterback and they're winning games and the offense have shifted. I mean, it was a bold move to bring in 2 tight ends. It's paying off to be bad. You look at guys that are getting paid way less that are having good years. Gerald Everett having a good year in Seattle, only getting paid $6 million a year. You have TJ Hawkinson, who's only getting paid $5 million a year. Jared Cook's only getting paid $4.5 million a year, and you put 31 guaranteed into your second tight end.
Yeah,
that's a tough look.
Supposed to be first tight end.
Yeah,
right. But even at that point, Henry's getting roughly the same amount of money.
Either way you cut it.
So
right.
it's it's really tough. This is the first one I'm going to look at, and this is a horrible contract. The other 2, you can make exceptions. This one is horrible, and this is a team that's going to contend. At least the other guys are on the field, right? At least Julio was the second best receiver. Right. At least Russell Westbrook's still a third superstar, is going to be on the court. Jonnu's not even playing.
Yeah, 47 snap percentage.
Jonnu's he's falling into irrelevant category. And Kyle, you make a great point. And this is why, to me, this is the worst contract of all the ones that we've named, because the Patriots offense shifted. And when it did, they started winning games. So they started getting to a better point in their offense. And that point is making Jonnu Smith obsolete. And I don't want to make my $31 million toy obsolete. I don't want to do that. But I've changed my offense. My quarterback looks better. My offense is running more. I'm getting the ball distributed more to guys like Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers. Right. And Hunter Henry is my premier tight end. And Hunter Henry blocks too. Hunter Henry does more in our style of offense. So no, I don't need Jonnu, but I paid $30 million for him. Like as a front office, that's hard to pay for an asset and continue to not use it. You almost feel the need to plug it in because we have so many eggs in that basket. But if I'm winning games, like I got to swallow the pride and try to flip them in the offseason because I don't need them anymore.
It's going to be tough. I'm looking at his contract right now. His base salary this year was $1 million. His cap hit was really low, $5 million. And then next year and the years after, it jumps up to 13.7, 14.7, 15.7. Over the I mean, like it's bad news.
We know,
looking at that contract.
And we know, come on, man. If we know this, you know who knows this? The boogeyman, Bill Belichick. If he don't make sense to be on the books next year, Jonnu, pack the bags. You go into Cleveland. We know this. We know how this goes. All right. We will transition again because it's not all bad, y'all. There's some good contracts out there. We're going to go from salary cap to salary floor and really talk about who's got the better contracts in sports and helping their teams out. And we'll stay right at home because you guys now have a new favorite player on the Sixers.
Clap your hands.
His name is Seth Curry. It's got to be, and I don't have every contract in the NBA like in front of my face right now. But I would go on a limb and say this is a top 3, one of the best contracts in the NBA for how he's performing, how y'all got him, and what you guys are paying him. But I'll let you guys dive into that further. So, Jake, tell me about Seth Curry and, to me, just the tremendous value the Sixers have him at.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, without Ben Simmons, he has been like the number one in terms, at least in crunch time, he's been the ball handler, him and Tyrese Maxey. But as far as scoring and creating your own shot, he's been amazing. He's on pace for 8. Well, not on pace. He is currently shooting 50, 40, 90. Incredibly efficient. Sometimes when you watch him, you think it's his brother out there. And then, like, the craziest thing, so obviously the new NBA is all about shooting, all about the ability to hit, knock down from the outside. Seth is one of the best at that. So Daryl Morey, before acquiring him, took Josh Richardson, who's not very good at that and not very good at many other things, and flipped him straight up for Seth Curry like that.
Which is amazing. Which is like Daryl Morey, just amazing. The things
you might have to go see a judge for that one. That's like robbery.
That's a full zip fleece right there. That's what we call that. A full zip fleece.
That's GTA right there.
My goodness.
But yeah, he's been amazing, and he's been a big reason in why the Sixers have been able to kind of carry on without Ben Simmons, because he has been giving them near all-star level production and efficiency from the outside.
Yeah, I do want to throw in that that was Elton Brand. It wasn't Daryl Morey that did that.
Oh, was it?
That was Elton Brand. Yeah.
Elton flipped that. Elton flipped Josh Richardson for Seth Curry like that.
Daryl Morey came in last season in like November. And Seth Curry had been on the team in the offseason.
Yeah. First of all, let's pause for a second. Apologize to EB. Because Jake, apologize to EB, not you, but like us, because we've gotten on EB a lot before, but that's one of the better moves of the offseason or of the season last year, and we're over here giving credit to Daryl Morey when I was EB getting active.
Well, it's a zero-sum thing. He signed Elton Brand to the worst contract, or he signed Al Horford to the worst contract of all time, and I said he was the best signing, so I guess it's a double bad on me.
I mean, this one was. We remember we were in Manioc talking about how did we find George Niang? Like, what a great pickup from like what he had done before. But now you look at like Seth Curry was way more obvious than that, and I'm actually surprised he only signed for $8 million a year. We saw him kind of be going from team to team early. Went with Dallas, had a great season. Went to Portland for a season, didn't do great, and then went back to Dallas and had another great season. And he was ready to explode, right? So locking him up while they could for only $8 million a year was awesome. And now you see a guy who was just a 3-point shooter, more of a catch and shoot guy, can drop ball handle a little bit. Now we're seeing him, way higher usage rate, taking step back threes, pulling up off the dribble, making the right passes. And I mean, not a great defender, but very serviceable on the end of the ball. I mean, he's kind of turned from a guy ready to go over the tip of the iceberg to now he's over that edge, and he's a real dominant player in this league and having a great season.
Yeah, not just a flash in the pan or only pops off when nobody's there. Actually dependable. And let's not forget, before the season before you guys got him, he was statistically the best 3-point shooter in the league over his brother and Joe Harris. So yes, locking him up was
best of all time. He was the best of all time.
Yeah, seriously. So locking him up was crucial. And speaking of locking up, that's where we're gonna end salary cap. Because we gotta talk about, dude, is one of my favorite players in the league.
Yeah.
The torture chamber. Lou Dort, man. Like absolutely incredible for the 1 year or for the 8 months I was a Thunder fan. I really enjoyed watching his rookie year in the bubble. But Lou Dort has premiered as one of the best perimeter one-on-one ball defenders in the NBA. And if you still tune into Thunder games, not that anybody does, he has a very big role on the Thunder. When they win, Lou Dort has his stamps all over that game. So Kyle, I got a feeling you love this
crazy.
one, man. Yeah,
the contract he has is so ridiculous. 4 years, $5.3 million. That's the total value, not the average value.
What?
Second team all defense last year. Second team all defense.
Jake, that is the total value of the whole contract. Over 4 years, he gets paid $5.3 million.
He needs to talk to the agent, bro. Like, what's good?
The 11th highest player on OKC. There's actually only 2 guys on the active roster who are getting paid less than him, and he's been by far their second best player. I mean, OKC
this is a rookie
bad.
deal. This is a rookie skill deal.
No, this is the contract extension. I don't think Lou Dort was drafted. Yeah, I mean, 4 years, it's ridiculous. They're a bad team, but I mean, 16.6 points per game, only behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on OKC, and they're just not paying him at all. This was an ultimate finesse from the Thunder. It's ridiculous.
That is honestly like sad. Like, it's sad. I'm sad for Lou Dort.
I'm upset for Lou Dort.
I mean, I think eventually he will. So when did he sign that?
2019, right before the whole, like, he was the defender in the playoffs, the guy.
Yeah.
Right, I guess that is right before his kind of coming out party.
Yep.
I'm trying to find some of his.
So my question is, this is the best contract in terms of the Thunder. But we can talk about it from the player's point of view, and that's salary cap, man. Because why would you sign a 5-year deal where the length of your contract is more than the dollar amount 4 year? Then it's just as much as the dollar amount that you're signing for. I'm sorry.
He was undrafted. He wanted stability. He's like, I can go play basketball in the NBA and make $1 million a year. Yeah,
that's like
crazy.
But not four. I guess if I don't have guarantee, I guess you want stability. You want
undrafted player. He wasn't supposed to be this good. He just did.
You want to guarantee that you have income for the next 4 years. So that's. But Luke Dort, we got to revisit things, man. We got to bring some stuff back to the table because I cannot believe
it's definitely coming.
40.7% defensive field goal percentage allowed for Lou Dort on 11.6 shots against per game, which is the third most on the team. But a lot of those are like one of the other team's best players.
I was about to say, got to take in consideration, and they're all one-on-one assignments. Lou Dort, is not asking for help. It's one-on-one on an island.
Yeah, he'll get paid eventually. It's just a shame. Damn, I didn't know.
Total
his contract
money
value was so bad.
Total money. All right, that's what we're gonna wrap up this video. We got through 3 bad contracts and 2 good ones. Lou Dort, holler at us, man, because we might be able to bring you some negotiations to the table because you gotta look at your numbers a little bit. But for my guys, Jake Galley and Kyle Sirik, as always, thank you for joining us. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe our YouTube channel. As always, we were presented by the Up On Game Network and iHeartMedia. But these have been the facts.
Straight up.